guys, what's up? I wanted to take a few minutes to update you on some summer stuff before we jump into the message tonight. If you've been following along with Crossroads and Pastor Scott, you've probably seen the roll-in plan. And since that roll-in plan has come out, I've gotten a few questions, stuff like, is Dive really not coming back until July? And are we going to Deep River like we do every year? What about other summer events? What about senior night? And so I kind of wanted to jump in and just address those questions and address the summer. And I can say, I don't have answers to all those things right now. It's a delicate balance between planning ahead, but not planning too far ahead that if things fall apart, we're not super disappointed. And yet also just kind of working week by week to make sure, we can just keep moving. So I can't answer all the questions, but I can tell you where we're at right now and what we're thinking for the summer. So if you've been following the roll-in plan, you notice that Dive isn't on that roll-in plan until July, which means, as ministries are coming back in person over the next, 6, 8, 9 weeks, Dive isn't on that schedule until July. But we really don't know what July looks like yet. So hold that loosely, hold that with flexibility. We can't say with certainty what that exact date is going to be for us yet. And July is usually a transition time for us anyway, where we start to graduate out the seniors, we take some time off, and then we get ready for the new school year. So to say we're coming back in July only to take some time off like we normally do, we're not sure yet. We don't know what that looks like. So just stay tuned and we're going to keep you updated as we get closer to those things. But secondly, let's talk about events. Deep River is a no for us this summer, and I know that's disappointing. I'm bummed about that. We go every year, and it's a lot of fun. But a big reason for that is that Deep River isn't even really sure what they're doing for the summer yet. And so they're still trying to figure out if they're going to have people wear masks, or if they can only open the park at partial capacity, or if they even have to close certain rides down. So they're not sure what they're doing yet. That makes it really hard to be able to say, yes, we can go when they don't know what's happening yet. So Deep River's a no for us. The other question about senior night, that's really just a big question mark right now. I can't guarantee that. Usually we do that in May, and we did the senior recognition Sunday morning thing in May. And I know it's not the same because we usually have our little tradition that we do on a Sunday night, and it's a lot of fun. But just not knowing what summer looks like yet, I can't guarantee that we will get to have senior night or not. So if we can make it work, we're going to make it work, and we'll let you guys know. But seniors, graduating seniors, you guys are, like every year, welcome to be with us through the whole summer up until whatever our final summer event or summer youth night is before we take that break at the end of July. So just like every year, you guys are welcome to be with us, and we look forward to that. So then if that's the case for summer events and things, then what are we actually doing? We want to try to create a hybrid approach for the summer. That means partly online, partly in person. As we're able to. So for the time being, for the coming weeks, we're going to keep doing our messages and our small groups and our Zoom pre-service stuff all online. Now I get it. Online is getting old for a lot of people. We're tired of being online. It's not new and shiny anymore, but as a chance to just connect as a group and still have fun and be together, I would really encourage you to just keep tuning in, jump into the Zoom stuff, laugh with friends, have some fun, participate in your small group, make sure you're there. So we're going to keep doing those things online, but then we also want to try to sprinkle in some in-person events maybe every few weeks. Now, with those events, we would still have to keep socially distanced. We're going to have to keep our health and safety guidelines and all the hygiene standards and all that. That's all still really important. But if we can have a few outdoor events to look forward to so that we can have fun and be together, I would love that, and I think that would be super important for us. So the first event we're planning is an outdoor movie night in 2 weeks on June 7th. Weather permitting, of course. We could have it around the backside of the church, on that lawn area and the parking lot. We'll keep social distancing going on. We don't have exact times yet. Hopefully by next Sunday we will, but we got to figure out sunset so that we can do the outdoor projector and all that kind of stuff. But that's our first event, and we think that would be a lot of fun to just gather and be together and do something like that. We don't have details on our second event yet, so stay tuned. But then in July, Challenge Conference was canceled. And the folks over at Challenge are doing a one-night Challenge live stream that's totally free. I think that's going to be on July 15th at this point. And I think it would be super fun to get the whole youth group together and do a big Challenge watch party. Whether you've been to Challenge or not, it's going to be good. So with a couple in-person events just for fun, and then our Sunday night messages and small groups and Zoom stuff, I think we can still have a good summer and that we can have fun and be together as possible. And then at the end of July, like I said, we'll take a few weeks off like we do every year to prepare for the new school year, new students coming into Dive, new small group leaders, all that stuff. And then hopefully as we get ready for school in August, we'll be able to go back to weekly in-person worship and teaching in small groups and games and all that stuff that we love. So that's where we're at right now. That's what we're thinking about. Plans might change, and we'll keep flexible and we'll keep you updated along the way. We miss you guys, and we can't wait to see you again, hopefully soon. Hey guys, welcome back to Sunday night. It's Dive. We're here. We're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight we are starting a brand new series called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do, and it's literally all about figuring out what to do when you don't know what to do. Some things in life are easy, like when your car needs gas, you go get gas, or when you're hungry, you eat some food. But some situations in life are a little bit trickier, a little bit more complicated to try to figure out, well, what do I do in that? So over the next few weeks and into the summer, we're going to be studying the life of Joseph. Not Joseph, Jesus' dad from the Christmas story, but Joseph from the book of Genesis. And we're going to see that he was placed in a number of situations that there's no rule book for. And he had to figure out, what do I do in these situations? So I think there's a lot we can learn. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be really good. Now, if you've got eyes, you probably notice I have a special guest with me this evening. This is my wife, Lindsay. Say hi, Lindsay.
Hi, I am Lindsay. And you might have seen me pre-COVID at a youth group because me and our three boys, Carson, Sawyer, and Emmett, love to come and hang out on Sunday nights.
Mm-hmm. And I think it would be fun for people to get to know you. So we're going to put you in the hot seat, and we're going to give you 60 seconds to answer as many questions as you possibly can. Okay. I have a lot of questions, and you're going to answer with just the first thing that comes to mind, all right?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, then here we go. 60 seconds on the clock, starting now. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Mom.
What's your favorite indoor activity?
Reading.
What chore do you absolutely hate doing?
Cleaning toilets.
If you could be any fictional character, who?
Anne of Green Gables.
Where's Waldo?
He's lost.
What was the last movie, TV show, or book that made you cry?
Little Women.
Do you have any hidden talents?
I play the harmonica.
Do you have any phobias?
Spiders.
What's your favorite movie?
Anne of Green Gables.
Who's your hero?
Jesus.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
If there was a fire and you could only grab 3 things, what would they be?
You and the kids and our pictures.
Dinosaurs or dragons?
Dragons.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck?
A horse-sized duck.
What's your favorite ice cream?
Chocolate.
And what's something that you are people are obsessed with, but you just don't get the point of?
TikTok.
Let's see. Is a picture worth 1,000 words?
No.
If you had to change your name, what would you change it to?
Cordelia.
Time's up. Now you know her even better than I do.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
Do you ever feel like you're living in 2 different worlds? Like there's your actual world with like school, or I guess now it's e-learning, and friends and band and sports, kind of like what normal life was like, but all the places you go and all the things you would do. And there was like how you were at those places, but then there's how you are at home. And although we probably wouldn't admit it, isn't it true that we're like way weirder at home? Not like a little bit weird, but like really weird. We don't think we're weird because we live with ourselves, but we're weird. What's one thing that you or your family does at home that you would never do in public? We're going to give you a few seconds now. Put it in the live chat tonight. Everyone who puts an answer in the live chat is going to be entered to win Wendy's delivered by me sometime this week. So go. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I do my own sound effects.
He does.
Okay. Hopefully you answered. Here's what I mean. When I'm at home, I do things like I bite my nails. I don't know if it's stress. I don't know if it's anxiety or like nervousness or whatever. Maybe I just don't like the feel of like uneven nails. But I would never do that out in public or at work or anything. Or when I'm alone, sometimes I'll catch myself talking to myself. But if anyone asked me, I would totally deny it. But I would never do that at work or at youth group or anything like that. And before you even start judging me or thinking that I'm really weird, here's what I bet. I bet you all do things like that too. We all act in certain ways at home that we would never act with friends or never act in public. And not only are we weirder at home, but I would wager that some of us are even more difficult at home. Anybody feel me on that? Think about it. You would probably never leave like your nasty gym socks or dirty laundry littered around your friend's house. But when we're at home, it's over our bedroom, it's in our bathroom, it's wherever we leave it. You would probably never talk to your coach the same way you talk to your mom or stepmom. You would never be as mean to someone in band as you are to your brother at home. And like me, you probably don't explode nearly as quickly on anybody outside of your house as you do to the people you live with.
But how is this possible? More importantly, why is it? Why do we act in two completely different ways depending on where we are? I think there's a lot of reasons for it, but I think one of the main reasons for me is I think of home like my world, and everybody else is just living in it. You know what I mean? For some of us, home feels like it's the only safe place for us to be a real version of ourselves, and the people we live with will hopefully still love us even when we're ridiculous. But at the same time, we all tend to not just be the realest, but often the worst versions of ourselves. So no matter what is happening, I tend to ask myself this question: how does this affect me? I mean, think about it. Everything we say or do at home is in response to how this question is answered. How does this affect me? So here's a few examples from our lives.
Yeah, I can totally think of a time. I mean, I've been selfish a lot, but I can think of one time in particular when our family only had one vehicle. It was the family minivan. I think we had my dad's work truck, and I had had a car before that, but then the transmission blew up and we couldn't fix it. So our family was down to one vehicle, and it was just this old minivan. And I would get really mad when I was told I couldn't take it out to go hang out with my friends or go to the skate park or drive to Lindsay's house. And instead of thinking about, oh, well, we only have one vehicle, I wonder what my family needs it for or why they need it at this moment and if I could wait, I was just focused on me. I was embarrassed that I didn't have a car. I was embarrassed if I had to ask for a ride. I was kind of embarrassed if Lindsay had to drive me around. But I was never thinking about what my family needed or what they wanted it for. I was only thinking about myself and my own image.
Yeah, and like I remember growing up, I hated chili. I didn't like beans, so that made chili a disaster of a meal to me. And so I remember I would complain to my mom, like, why did you make this? I don't like it. And usually I would complain enough that she would just let me make a sandwich. But then came the day that I went to Rich's house, and his family was having chili for dinner. And I ate that whole bowl. Not a single complaint.
Yeah, I didn't even know that she didn't like chili.
Yeah. See, maybe you can relate. What I don't think a lot of us realize as we live our lives at home is how much our response to the question, how does this affect me, changes the vibe in our house. So as we respond to how things are affecting us, the people in our house are responding to how we are affecting them, and then we respond to that, and most of us don't even realize we're playing this key role in this general feeling in our house. So is it always true? No, but for some of us, we know that at least we're part of the cycle of tension and the attitude where we live. So the question is, what do we do about it? What do we do when things are tough at home and when the mood is off and you know that you're part of the reason that there's tension in the house, but you have no idea what to do about it?
Yeah. So, hey, look, listen, you don't need me, you don't need us to tell you family is hard. Family is just hard. Even if you have the best family, family can be hard sometimes. But the good news in all of this is that the difficulty that your family faces isn't unique to you. I would guess that everybody's family struggles with difficulties, with tension, some worse than others. Let's just be honest about that. But this isn't like super unique to us in modern times. This has been going on for as long as families have existed. In fact, one of the things I love most about the Bible is that it's real events because of real people's lives, real problems, and they really lived it. And so we get to examine the Bible. We get to learn from those examples. And over the next couple weeks, we're going to look at the life of Joseph. And Joseph is one of the most famous people in the Old Testament. He's a guy who, just like us, finds himself in all kinds of situations where he just doesn't know what to do. And Joseph's story is wild. Like, it would make a great Netflix drama documentary. There are murder plots, he's sold into slavery, he's unfairly put in jail, and then the story twists and turns like every other chapter. And the drama doesn't stop, but all the drama starts with his family, his super dysfunctional family. So let me give you some background before we jump into our text tonight. Joseph, by the way, we totally raided like our kids' toy boxes so that we could get Playmobil and Lego guys and action figures because it's a big family and there's a lot of names, and we figured it would be way more fun to see these people rather than just hear a bunch of names and not know who they are. So this is Joseph. Hi, Joseph. And he he is one of 12 sons, all from the same dad, Jacob. And Jacob's story is where this begins, kind of thing, and it's really complicated because Jacob fell in love with a woman named Rachel, and he worked out this deal with her dad that he would work for 7 years so that he could marry her. But then when it came time to their wedding, the dad tricked Jacob, and he ended up marrying Rachel's sister, Leah, instead. But Jacob, still really loved Rachel, so he worked for her father for another 7 years just so he could marry her. And if you're keeping count, that means Jacob now has 2 wives and their sisters. Awkward. This sounds like one of those really strange reality shows that you'd watch on TV, but this is real life. And then, to make things more complicated, there are 2 other women that he never married. These 2 women are the servants of Rachel and Leah. And he doesn't marry them, but he has kids with them too. And plot twist, Rachel, the wife that Jacob loves the most and wants to have a family with, she can't have kids. And so all these other women are giving Jacob kids. He's having a family. Boop. Boop, boop. So many kids. Boop. And they just pop. Boop. 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 Are there more? We got them all.
Got them all.
Okay, well, that's all the kids that are born for now. And so Jacob's having kids and growing his family with all these women, but they're not his favorite wife. That is until Rachel became pregnant with Joseph. And he was like the miracle baby, and Jacob, his dad, was super crazy about him because it was his favorite wife, and now it's his favorite kid. And then Joseph ends up having a younger brother named Benjamin, whose mom is also Rachel. So the family is big, the family's complicated. And this means in a family with 1 dad, 4 moms, and 12 brothers, there was some tension. There's some problems, needless to say. And it was no secret who the favorites were. Jacob loved Rachel. Rachel had Joseph and Benjamin, and they were his favorites, and everyone else got second best, if that. And this is where we pick up the story today of Joseph and his family.
So in Genesis 37, we read about how Jacob made a special robe for Joseph, a physical reminder of how much his dad loved him more than the other brothers. And the brothers despised him for it. At that time, robes were a status symbol. Colored dye cost a lot of money. It was very valuable, very rare. And the more colorful and intricate the robe, the bigger deal you were. It wasn't the only issue, though. Joseph then had a series of dreams. We're going to be reading in Genesis 37, starting at verse 2. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flocks. He worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wives Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the fields tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine." Now, this wasn't your typical dream, and the brothers knew it. This dream wasn't about grain. This dream was about power. And Joseph was sending a message by sharing the dream. He was saying, "Hey guys, listen up. I know that I am going to be more powerful than you one day. And when that day comes, you will worship me." For a younger brother to say this to the older brothers, it was not going to fly. And the passage goes on.
Yeah, so we pick up in verse 8, and his brothers responded, "So you think you will be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. So the vibe was harsh. There's tons of tension, tons of conflict, a lot of jealousy, a lot of insecurity. Joseph's brothers were over the favoritism. They were over the robe. They were over the dreams. They didn't want to hear about it anymore. But then we continue the story in verse 9. Soon, Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I've had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers. But his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is that?" he asked. "Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. So he gets a second dream, and it's the same message, but this time it includes his parents even bowing down before him as well. And he tells his dad, Jacob, and he tells his brothers, who now hate him even more. And this is it's clearly not the best move. Can you imagine the tension in the family, the problems? One dad, 4 moms, 12 boys, and now the favorite son is going around telling everyone that he's having visions of them bowing down to him. Why would he do that? But Joseph wasn't acting in a way where he considered any of that. Joseph was behaving like you and I do in our families. Hyper aware of how we're being treated, of how we feel about the situation affecting us, but not really aware of how it's affecting anyone else. And Joseph's family is the same way. All Joseph's brothers could see was how the whole situation affected them. There's unfairness, there's injustice. I mean, Joseph receiving the robe he did as this gift is like being given a brand new car when you turn 16, while all of the other brothers share mom's ancient minivan. It wasn't right, and they saw it.
The truth is that these few verses are more about strange dreams in a coat. It's about how the tension in the family was never dealt with, how this tension was left to grow, and we're still reading about this story for a reason. So why? Well, to show us that family has always been complicated, to teach us to pay attention to how our actions and even our situations affect the people that we live with, and to remind us that tension left unresolved will never just go away. It will always escalate to something bigger. And next week, we're going to see how Joseph's escalated to a biblical dumpster fire sort of situation. But until then, what could everyone in the family have done differently? Well, Joseph, he could have started to see himself as part of the problem, as one person in a large family, instead of seeing himself as the center of the family. The dad could have recognized how his favoritism was impacting everyone. The brothers could have been a little more chill and held back on the grudges and the gossip about Joseph. And everybody could have just ignored Joseph's dreams and not allowed their insecurities to control them.
The point is this: Joseph's family drama isn't all that different from our own. Whether you're the favorite one, the angry one, the firstborn, the lastborn, the quiet one, the loud one, or the one with a gold medal in door slamming, The truth is the same. There's a role that you play in your family. Pay attention to how your words and actions contribute to the tone and temperature of your house. Do they increase peace? Are you improving the family situation? Or are you adding to the tension? Are you adding to the conflict? When you figure that out, then you can decide what you want your role to be from here on out. In other words, bottom line, pay attention to how you affect your family, and then choose how you'll treat them. If you aren't sure where to begin, take a look at this description of Jesus in the New Testament. If Joseph and his family are the flawed example of what we shouldn't be doing, then Jesus is the perfect example and the one we should be modeling our lives and attitudes after. In Philippians 2, starting in verse 3, it says this: "Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had." Don't miss that same attitude. "Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took on the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross." And so we read this, and Paul, who writes Philippians, is saying, look, Jesus sets the perfect example here. He gave up the privileges that came with being God. He was God, and he deserved to be treated like God and worshiped like God. But he didn't force that on people. He didn't require that of them. Instead, he chose to lead and be the best example of leading by serving and having compassion on humans, you and me, even when we didn't deserve it at all. And Paul is reminding us to be that kind of person to the people around us and the people we live with.
Okay, so the million-dollar question is, how do we do that when we don't know what to do at our house? Well, we start by paying attention to how we see ourselves. Do we think or do we act like we're the most important thing, the most important person in our house or in our family? Well, maybe. And is that accurate? Probably not. So what would it look like to treat our siblings, our step-siblings, our cousins, the adults in our home as equal or maybe even more important than ourselves? And finally, maybe hardest of all, is we need to invite someone else to speak into our lives to kind of help us see how we treat our family. It's really impossible to see the clear role that we play in our family ourselves, but others around us can see it. And so by asking them, they can help us to see ourselves and our families with 20/20 vision. In fact, asking someone older and wiser than you is one of the best things that you can do when you don't know what to do.
And, really, this is one of the main reasons we have small groups, by the way. We think it's important to have people around us, peers, but also older people, like our small group leaders, who can know what's really going on, who can kind of step back and see from another perspective what's going on in our lives and in our families and help us figure out what to do when we don't really know what to do. And, I love how even tonight and this topic tonight really comes right out of our last series and leading with love and letting love be our filters. Because Jesus led with love. And when we follow his example, then it even starts to change the perspective we have in our family. And this is super important because I think no matter how old you are, whether you're a student or an adult, there's a lot we can learn from this and there's a lot that we can do better. So if you're an 8th grader and you're going to be moving into high school next year, that's going to change your family dynamic. It's going to change your wants. It's going to change everything, and it's going to cause tension in your family. So how are you going to navigate that? Are you going to want to be the center of the world for your family? Are you going to want everyone's needs and wants to flow around you? Or are you going to look to see what kind of role do you play in your family? If you're a sophomore or a junior and you're maybe just getting your license, congratulations, by the way. But also, you're going to have wants and you're going to want to go do things with friends and you're going to start to think outward about all the stuff you want to do and you're not going to think necessarily always about your family. And so be aware of, what kind of tension does that cause? What does your family need from you in this time? And are you willing to look out for their own interests? If you're a senior and you're graduating and you're getting ready to go to college or move to whatever's next for you in the fall, that changes your family dynamic. And it's really important to be aware of that because when you come home on breaks or when mom calls you for like the third time that day and you're like, Mom, I'm my own person, you need to be aware of how this changes the family dynamic and understanding that like you still play a key role in your family. And so all of that to say is like, no matter who you are, no matter how old you are, and no matter what you're going through, like there's a lot that we can learn from Joseph's story and from Jesus's perfect example in how we relate to the people we live with and the people who love us most. Imagine for a second if everyone in your family did this. What if everyone paid attention to how they were affecting everyone else? What would it do for the relationships with the people closest to you and the people living at your house? What would it do for the general level of tension or even peace at your home? And what if it started with you? Because I think it could. I think it does, based on what we learned today and what we do with it. Linz, would you close us out in prayer tonight?
Sure. God, thank you for tonight. Thank you for this lesson tonight. And I thank you for your word. Thank you that you address practical things like how do we handle being in a family? We're all in a family, God. And I thank you that we have Jesus' perfect example about how to humble ourselves, how to put our family first, how to look for others' interests instead of our own. And would you please help us to find ways to apply that this week, to find ways to put others first in our home this week. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. That was a lot of fun. We're going to head to small groups next. And so please join your small group tonight. Like, it's easy to tune into YouTube and then click away and go do something else. But your small group's full of friends who love you and want to see you. And you've got a group leader who is crazy about you. So jump in, say hi. And we're going to talk more about Joseph's story in small groups tonight. We're going to look at Joseph's story over the coming weeks throughout the summer, and we're going to hopefully sprinkle in some summer in-person events. So stay tuned because you don't want to miss details on that. They're going to be coming up. And we love you guys. We miss you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.